Joining us today is Thione Niang, a young Senegalese American activist and founder of Give One Project. Thione, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
Thione, first off, two major events this year, two major elections, one in the United States and one in your home country, Senegal. Could you talk about the significance of these two elections?
Well, thank you for having me here, first of all. Both of those elections were very significant for me and also, I think, to the world in regards to the U.S. elections. Because, as you know, we inherited in the United States, President Obama has inherited a very difficult economy and a country that we know under Bush administration was having a lot of difficulties economically, and also a lot of Americans, example, were losing their homes, were losing their jobs. You know, healthcare was not where we wanted it to be. A lot of Americans, 2.something million Americans, couldn't go to the doctors because of the lack of healthcare. And we, young Americans, knew that we had to do something. We had to stand up for our country. We had to fight to make sure we elect somebody who can fight for all Americans, not only few, but all of them. That's why we gathered behind President Obama in 2007 and 2008, from the primary to the general elections in 2008, to make sure he was elected. 4 years has passed since then, and a lot of work has been done. And 2012 gave us an opportunity to assess ourselves, where the president has been these past 4 years. Thankfully, Americans were able to listen to us. It was very difficult, as you see, very close election, but in the end, we were able to secure a second term for President Obama. It was very important for Senegal, this election this year, also the beginning of the year, because we had a president named Abdoulaye Wade who wanted to have a third term. You know, ironically, he's a huge Democrat, and then finally, after the second term, he wanted to change things and, you know, change the constitution and then have a third term, which created a lot of issues in Senegal, because the opposition and the civil society fought hard to make sure that that didn't take place. The opposition gathered against the president, and they beat him for a third term. So now they have a new president named Macky Sall. But during the turmoil, it was very difficult around January, February, right before the elections on February 25th was the elections. Before that, it was the fight, and we lost. Some people died, unfortunately. And the young people was leading that fight to make sure they secure democracy in a very known country for democracy across the world.
How did you feel during that period?
You know, when you're home and you have family at home, and Senegal is my home country, and my family is still there, my mom, my father, everyone. So I had to do my part. And the least I could do is go home and talk to young people who are leading the fight, to convince them that, look, you know, you have the right to fight, you have the right to get your voice heard, but we can do it peacefully and democratically. If the guy want to push for a third term, gather everyone against him and go to the booths, to the voting booth, and make sure you vote against him, but don't do it on the streets. And we're going to continue to do the same thing across the world, to engage young people in a peaceful and democratic election, and also civic engagement for young people across the world.
That engagement that you have seems to pay off. Basically, you were intensely involved with the Obama's new term at the White House. Mm-hmm. What do you think, or how could you define Mr. Obama's African policy? What heritage would he have left once his term is over?
You know, I think the president's policy in Africa was very, very clear. As soon as he got in office, he's one of the fastest. He's one of the U.S. presidents that's visited Africa the fastest in his first term, and that sent a very strong signal to his trip to Ghana and some other countries in Africa that I think was very significant, the way that was chosen for him to go to Ghana. The message behind that says it all, because Ghana was showing an example of democracy and transparency in Africa. And the president's first thing on his policy was, let us support Africa to support itself, but let's support those governments that are showing transparency, that are fighting against corruption, and that are fighting to make sure that their country is better off. Everyone in their country, not just a few, not a few. And those who are not taking the money, the resources of their country, and put them overseas in Europe or in Africa in their personal accounts. That is what the president has clearly sent a message. And for that, he only visits African countries who are doing the same thing, that are really giving an example of democracy and also transparency.
Now this brings us back to the third and last question, which is your project, Give One Project. Give One Project is an organization that aims at helping young leaders to build healthy communities, strong communities. Can you talk about this project?
Give One Project is a non-profit organization that I created in the hopes that I will have the opportunity to engage young people across the world as much as I can touch them in leadership and entrepreneurship. Because I believe that those two will have to set forth the next generation of leaders that is going to help change the world. In 4 years, we are now in 16 countries across the world. Here in Paris, where I'm at today, we have an office here, and I'm helping a lot of young people here from the neighborhoods, the quartiers here, as they call it in France. We're identifying young people, young leaders. We're bringing them in Washington, D.C., in New York, and Cleveland, Ohio, and they're doing internship programs for 1 to 3 months, and then come back and give back to the community. And we continue to place them in jobs with our partners as AXA Insurance and its founder, Claude Bébéard, who's helped to set the organization here, as Sodexo with Pierre Ballon, with Randstad, with the government of France, who's helping also funding the program. And we're doing it in other countries, as Senegal, in Benin, in Japan, in Canada. And it was just a dream just 4 years ago, but now it's like non-stop travel I'm doing across the world to make sure that that is put in place. And then we continue to support young people who will definitely help, change their communities and finally change the world.
Thione, you have a major but still honorable challenge ahead of you. We wish you good luck.
Thank you for having me.
You can watch the entire interview on www.alqarratv.net.